Hello and welcome back to World Traveler Cooking, where we cover interesting foods and interesting cuisines from around the world. Today we're going to try to make, as best as I can, the closest thing I can to cotoletta alla Milanese. So this is one of those almost food videos. You can definitely use it to learn how to make cotoletta Milanese, but I am having to substitute pork for veal because I cannot get any kind of veal cutlets here, let alone the right kind. What you should be using is a rib veal cutlet, so it's basically like a rib steak, but veal instead of beef. So I am instead using pork, bone-in pork chop. Typically this is made with bone-in chops, cutlets. We have breadcrumbs, of course. We will use clarified butter, so I will clarify this butter. And we will use egg. Now, despite the fact that some of the English language recipes I've seen suggest flour, none of the Italian language recipes I've looked at flour the meat before putting it in the egg. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And then this is always served with rosemary potatoes, which will parboil these potatoes and then fry them in clarified butter with rosemary and a clove of garlic. So let's go ahead and get started. So I've taken a paring knife and I've cut the bone a little bit out. We still want the bone connected. And so now I'm going to take my meat mallet and I'm just going to flatten it out and make it really thin. So I start with and we're going to keep doing that until we have a really thin piece, and then I'll be back. I'm now going to beat my egg. So another piece of sacrilege is I did cut this to make it easier to work with in the frying pan. So I'm going to take each of these pieces and I'm going to coat it in the eggs. And then make sure it gets very, very well coated in the breadcrumbs. Now, one thing that separates this dish from Wienerschnitzel is that Wienerschnitzel, or if you're making it with pork, Schnitzel Wiener Art, is always is floured first, and the goal is to make sure that you get a crust that can sort of flake off a little bit. While here, we want the breadcrumbs to really fully stick to the meat. That's one major difference. So we're going to push these in nicely. Make sure it's well pushed in. And then we're going to take the non-cutting side of our knife. And actually, I'm just going to use a chef knife for this because it's larger. And we're going to just kind of put a hash mark on this. We don't want to cut it. We just want to, you can think of it as like more of a decorative marking, but it's very typical of this dish. There we go. Now this will be ready to fry. So once my pan's heating up a bit, obviously if you're using a non-stick you'll want to do this differently. We're going to add, say, about 100 grams or so, like about half of the butter. And we're going to let this heat up a little bit. And then we'll fry until it's golden brown on both sides. Again, this should be veal instead of pork, but you get the idea. Flip it over. In a few moments, this piece will be done. Next, we will slice our potatoes thin, about 3 millimeters thick. This would be easier if I had a mandolin, but I can't find my mandolin, so I'm just going to do it by hand. It's not that hard. We will then parboil them before we fry them. So I'll be back in a bit, and we'll start the parboiling process. Now that the water is starting to boil, we're going to put our potatoes in, bring it to a boil, and boil them for about 1 minute. And we'll pull the potatoes out and we will start the frying process. So once the pan's a little hot, add, oh crap, I have a little bit of butter solids there. Oh well, not the end of the world. We will add our butter, our potatoes, our garlic, and our rosemary. I guess this is not as well opened as I thought. Oh, it'll be fine. Just take one nice sprig of rosemary, stir that into good measure, and we're just going to stir this around, cook these potatoes nicely, and then we'll be done. So, these are actually starting to look like they're getting there, and they're smelling fantastic with that rosemary. So, probably another like 3 or 4 minutes, and then I'll be done. So these are now looking really good. So I'm just going to serve some straight to the plate, and then I'll put the, then I'll garnish, and we'll be back for a taste test. And now for the taste test. Now there is some noise sometimes outside, so I do apologize for that in advance, but first of all I'm going to try these potatoes. The potatoes are very nice. I think I forgot to add a little salt to them, but I'll do that. There is a very subtle rosemary flavor to it. It's not in any way overwhelming. It's very pleasant. Yeah, these are very nice. Now let me try a little piece of the cutlet. And so everything did stick to the meat as expected. Some people, by the way, just use egg yolks to egg this just because it sticks everything to the meat more. It's crunchy. Very nice. It's yeah, this is just spot on. Very delicious, very delicious. Now, again, this would have to be made properly with veal rather than pork, but doing what I have to here. It's quite delicious. I would definitely make it again. Yeah, this is very, very good. Now, if you find this content interesting, you'd like to see more of it, please like, share, and subscribe. If you have anything to say about the video, please let me know in the comments. Recipes in the description. Bon appetit. See you next week.